Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey now, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that is going to be seeking funding on Kickstarter very soon. That game is called Creature College, and it's from Happy Otter Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this video, when the Kickstarter launches, I'm going to have a link at the bottom of your screen now, and at in the description section of the video, and then at the end of the video as well. That will take you to the official Kickstarter project page. You can find out even more information about Creature College and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, what is Creature College? This is a competitive family weight game for 2 to 6 players. You are trying to capture creatures at this fantastical university where there's all these crazy critters running around, and you and the other players are competing in this competition in order to not only capture these creatures, but also to battle the other players with them in order to get the most points possible in the contest. Whoever has the most points at the end is going to be the winner. The game mechanisms are bidding for these different creature cards, but also using those cards together with other battle cards to battle the other players. Let me go ahead and give you a brief overview of the game with an early copy of the game, so some things may change in the final version. Then we're going to come back. I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Creature College. This is a competitive game for 2 to 6 players. You and the other players take control of students at this college where you are trying to create or capture monsters in order to get the most victory points possible in this campus-wide competition. Whoever can get the most points at the end of 12 total rounds of play will be the winner of the game. Now, you have a bit of setup to do in the beginning. Each player is going to get their own player mat, representing both their color and the different characters. So you have Vanessa here, who is the adventurer and the jungle diva, whereas you have Derek, who is a bit of a mad scientist and the creator of fruit juice of some sort. And then you're going to have Ulf over here, and so on and so forth. Lots of interesting and fun characters. So you'll have your player mat, and the most important feature of the player mat, well, there's quite a few of them, but you have the element track here, which lets you keep track of the different element creature cards that you're going to gather during the course of the game. Earth, air, fire, water, and myth. So you have your colored trackers, and as you gather certain cards, you'll move those trackers up. Directly above those spaces is the fight area. This is where you're going to be placing your cards whenever you get into a fight, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Below that are the research lab spots. This is where you can place your research lab cards as you gain them. You only have 5 spots that you can use for that. Then you have special abilities. At the start of the game, you're going to get 3 cards. Each player is going to get 3 ability cards. You choose one to keep, and you place the one that you want to keep face up on here, and it'll give you some special ability during the course of the game. So Vanessa here actually gets to start the game with a battle card. So she'll draw a battle card, and she'll keep that face down and to herself. We'll get back to those in a minute. And then finally, on your player boards, you have missions. Each player is going to get 1 secret mission, and again, they'll get 3 cards and choose one of those missions in secret. And unlike the ability card, you'll put it face down on your mat so the other players won't know what you're working towards. On that other side of these mission cards, you have an arrangement of elemental creature cards that you need to gain before the end of the game in order to get the number of victory points listed at the bottom of the card. And remember, victory points are what you need in order to win. And this is why you can keep track of the monster cards that you collect over here on this board. So that will give you something, a goal that you're striving towards. Now let's take a look at the term track and the cards that you set up on or near that main central board. Off to the left, you see the stacks of Research Lab cards. Those fit into the Research Lab spots on your player boards. The first one up there, the green cards, are the Battle Gem cards. Battle Gem cards are either going to give you gems that will be worth victory points at the end of the game. The Win Gems, which are, you'll actually take these green gems, which will represent victory points at the end of the game. Or you'll have to take the Lost Gems, which are the red gems. Those are going to count against you as far as victory points go at the end of the game. Then you have the Element Lab, or the Element Track Research Lab cards. These are going to let you improve either a +1 or a +2 to any of your element tracks. And finally, you have the victory point cards. These are just going to give you a certain amount of victory points. You'll keep these to yourself, and you'll be able to count them at the end of the game. Now, there'll be a deck of battle cards, which you will keep over here to the side, and I'll show you a few of those. Now, at the bottom of the card, it's going to tell you how many battle points the card's going to give you. So you have things like Plasma Pistol and Neutron Grenade. The Doppelganger Field actually doubles your lowest card. Sonic Dissembler gives you 2 battle points, and the really big gun gives you 4 battle points. So you're going to use these during the battle phase, which we'll explain in a moment, to give yourself more bonuses. At the top of the board, you're going to have the different, this is called the term track, by the way. At the top of the board, you're going to have the different seasons that you'll be playing through. Each season is comprised of 4 rounds, hence the game, like I said before, is going to take a total of 12 rounds. Each season has 3 bidding rounds and 1 battle round. At the bottom of the board is the turn order track. Now, at the beginning of the game, this is going to be random, but when you get into the bidding rounds, this is going to be determined by whoever has bid the most, and then going down from there to determine who will bid first in the next round, and also who, when you get to the battle round, who is going to take the first battle action. Finally, you have the stacks of creature cards, and you're going to deal these into equal piles for autumn, winter, and spring. And you're also going to have a row of cards, depending on the number of players, at the bottom of the track, the bottom of the central board, representing the cards that the players are going to be bidding on during the bidding rounds. Now, first off, in each of the 3 creature card decks for each of the seasons, there will be one Kevin the Gigapig card. This is when this card comes up, each of the players has to fight Kevin the Gigapig, and you have to do this by playing creature cards all of the same element, 1 or more of them, and trying to match his battle strength. You can also play the battle cards similar to the ones I showed you before. If you're able to fend him off, then good for you, nothing bad happens to you, but if you're not, you have to take the number of lost gems representing negative victory points from the victory point pile. The other creatures in the deck you have of different elements. You have Spiraling Zephyr, one of the wind creatures, has 4 battle strength. You have Undulant Siren, Pixie Sparkle Dust, Ruby Rumblestone. Notice how these are all different elements. Sparks Franklin, the Miniature Kraken, the Multi-Hued Symbiont, who can count as, he's basically a wild. You can count as whatever element you want him to during the end of the game. Explodable Slugget, Belligerence Blocker, Bob the Weregerbil, and another wild Chameleon Snoop. Although I should say that there's not only for the end of the game, but also if you choose to use them in combat. Now, the easiest way to describe the rest of the game is to take you through what a typical round is like. So first off, you have the bidding rounds. In the bidding rounds, like I said, at the start of the game, it's just the order is going to be random. But what's going to happen is each player has 9 of these tokens that have the different numbers from 1 through 9 on them. They'll keep them face down to themselves so the other players don't know exactly which token they're going to use. But starting in turn order, you are going to bid on each of these creatures out here in the lineup. You choose a creature that you want, and you are going to place one of your tokens face up on that creature. So let's say I really want Singed Flappingsworth. So I put my 5 on that card, but if another player really wanted that card, they could come along and they can outbid me on it by playing a token with a higher number, forcing me to take my bid back and putting it onto another card. So then I have to say, okay, well, I'm going to have to take Oakley Treeheart. Now, if someone tried to bid with the same number as someone else, then a preceding bid actually takes precedence. So they would have to either bid a higher number or they'd have to go on something else. So the light blue player might go for the Explodable Slugget instead. This is going to keep going like this with players potentially outbidding each other and going on until each player has successfully bid on a card, no matter where their bids may have ended up. At that point, once everyone has bid, before you do anything else, you determine the new turn order. So in this case, green bid 9. So green is going to go, and then blue is, let's see, light blue and purple bid the same amount. So their turn order is going to be the same relative to where they were before. And then dark blue bid least, so dark blue is going to come in last. Then each player is going to claim the cards that they have coming to them, and they can never use their tokens again for the duration of the game. So these cards will all go to their respective owners. And when you take your creature, you will update your track appropriately to show which creatures you've gained. Next, also in the new player order, players are going to roll these 2 dice. Now, what these represent are rewards after your monster hunt. So the number die is going to represent the possible number of battle cards you can take, 1 or 2. And the research die is going to represent the type of research card you can take. The research lab cards, you can take one of the smaller square cards. You'll roll the 2 dice, and then you'll make your decision whether or not you want to take either 1 or 2 battle cards, or you want to take the type of card depicted on the research lab card. So either the element tracks, the battle gems, or the victory point cards. So in this case, let's say that it was the blue player's turn. She would go ahead ahead and go, Vanessa, she would go ahead and go for the 1 battle card because she really wants more battle cards. After each player has had a chance to do that, you're going to go up, you're going to update the turn order track going to the next round, which is, remember there's 3 bidding rounds, so then you're going to do that all over again. You're going to fill up the track again with more cards for the players to bid on, and then you are going to bid again in whatever the turn order was from before, which will then change again afterwards. Oh, and sorry, the old monster would go, whatever monster was not picked in the first round of bidding would go away too. Once you get done with all the bidding and players each have their different creatures, then you go into the battle rounds. This is where, starting in turn order, each player is going to have a chance to battle the other players. You are going to choose 1 or more cards of the same color. So let's say, as Vanessa, I'm going to choose to battle with Singe and Conflagrable. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. So since they are the same element, I'm going to choose to battle with them, and I can choose to battle the players on my left and on my right. I resolve each battle individually. I turn them 90 degrees to show that I have used them both and they cannot be used again during the game. And very simply, I am adding up their battle points, which in this case is 8, and adding whatever other battle points I want from the battle cards in my hand. So I could use one of my Sonic Dissemblers to add 2 to that and make my total 10. Now, the other player, let's say I'm fighting the green player first, would have to decide to use any fire creatures they may have, and if they don't have any, then they have to resort to using whatever battle cards they may have in their hand. If you're able to win the battle, you get 2 victory point gems. If you lose the battle, you take 2 lost victory point gems. And that is essentially how the game is going to go. You're going to have 3 bidding rounds and a battle round, and also the potential extra battle round of Kevin the monster gerbil. And at the end of the game, you're going to count up victory points. You get victory points for wherever you end up on the element track, so get the victory points at the top for each of those. Then if you also add up whatever, if you were able to complete your mission, you'll get those victory points as well. Any of your win or loss victory point gems, and any of the victory point cards you have in your research lab spots. You're going to add all those together, and if you have the most, you are the winner of Creature College. Now, let's get to my final thoughts. The main thing that Creature College has going for it, of course, is that theme, which is not only a theme that's going to be good for younger gamers or just for casual gamers, but it's just a fun theme, which means that a lot of people are going to be able to get into it. The idea of taking these sort of wacky kids at this school and going around and capturing all these different creatures of all these different elements, that is sort of this thing that you see running through a lot of different fantasy storylines and role-playing games and things like that, so it's instantly relatable to a large section of geeky culture, and especially to younger people as well. But the thing about it is the actual game mechanisms have quite a surprising amount of depth to them as well, which means that this game is going to be cross-accessible to a larger portion of hardcore gamers too. You have bidding for these different creature cards, and being able to outbid the other players, and knowing when to do so is very important to your strategy in the game. It's something I've actually only seen in way more complicated games like Cyclades and stuff like that. And then you go on to the actual battle phase where you have to carefully decide which creature cards you're actually going to play, knowing that you're not going to have access to them for the rest of the game. And together with that, you have secret missions and trying to get the certain allotment of cards to get the most points possible, and knowing when to draw the research lab cards as opposed to the battle cards, and knowing even which research lab cards to draw upon your limited amount of spaces. So for a game that is easy to learn and very accessible and has a relatively short play length, it has this surprising amount of depth in decision making, where you have to say where all these different things like resource management and strategic and tactical combat, all these things are in this game. But of course it also has that fun theme where there's these giant gerbils and guinea pigs and all these cute but deadly creatures. It just has a lot going for it that I think is going to be very accessible to casual gamers, hardcore gamers, and of course families who just want a good time but want something with more depth and strategy than your typical mass market family weight games. So if you fall into any of those categories, if you think this is going to be a fun one for you and your group or your family, I would encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page when the project launches. And when it does, I'm going to have a link at the bottom of your screen, and then down in the description section of the video, that will take you to the page, find out more information, and hopefully you'll consider backing the project. That is Creature College from Happy Otter Games. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.